Welcome to IELTS English in Context. In this episode, you will hear a university resident negotiate a solution to an accommodation problem. You will learn how to describe a problem objectively, explain its impact, propose a practical solution, respond to an alternative, and confirm an agreement. You will then apply the language to an IELTS Speaking Part 3 style question. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to describe an accommodation problem clearly, explain its practical impact, state your priorities politely, propose and evaluate possible solutions, and confirm an agreement accurately. The aim is not to sound demanding or passive. The aim is to communicate firmly, politely, and constructively. Sophie lives in university accommodation. The heating in her room has stopped working again, even though it was recently inspected. A permanent repair cannot be completed until Friday. Because the room is too cold to use comfortably and Sophie is preparing for an exam, she meets Mr. Bennett, the accommodation manager, to negotiate a temporary solution. Listen for how she explains the problem, acknowledges practical limitations, proposes an arrangement, and confirms the final agreement.
Thanks for meeting with me. I'm following up on the heating problem in room 214. It stopped working again last night, even though it was inspected on Monday.
I'm sorry the problem has returned. The contractor has confirmed that a replacement part is required.
I understand. Could you let me know when the repair is expected to be completed?
The earliest available appointment is Friday morning.
I appreciate that the contractor is unavailable before Friday. However, the room is currently too cold to use comfortably, particularly at night.
We can provide a portable heater until the repair is completed.
Thank you, but my main concern is whether that will keep the room warm enough overnight. I also have an exam this week, so I need a reliable place to sleep and study.
That is understandable. Let me check whether another room is available. We have a temporary room in another building, but it is not available until tomorrow afternoon.
That could work. Would it be possible to use the portable heater tonight and move to the temporary room tomorrow?
Yes, although you would need to return to your original room once the repair is complete.
That would be acceptable, provided that I receive confirmation of the arrangements and assistance with moving my belongings.
We can arrange that. I can also request a rent credit for the period during which the room could not be used normally.
Thank you. Just to confirm, a portable heater will be delivered this afternoon. I can move to the temporary room tomorrow, and someone will help with my belongings.
Correct. The contractor will repair the heating on Friday morning, and I will email you about the rent credit once it has been reviewed.
That resolves my immediate concern. Could you also include the repair appointment in the email?
Certainly. I'll send the full arrangement in writing today.
Sophie follows a clear negotiation sequence. First, she describes the problem factually. Next, she explains its practical impact and identifies her main priority. She then proposes a workable solution rather than simply demanding action. When Mr. Bennett offers an alternative, she accepts it with a reasonable condition. Finally, she confirms the details and requests written evidence of the arrangement. This structure keeps the negotiation focused and constructive. Let's check negotiation phases by function. First, I'm following up on refers to an issue that has already been reported. Next, I appreciate that acknowledges the other person's limitation before however introduces your concern. Next, my main concern is identifies your priority. Next, would it be possible to introduce as a polite proposal? Next, that would be acceptable provided that accepts an offer with a condition. Lastly, just to confirm checks the final details. Using phrases according to their function makes your negotiation organized and precise. Effective negotiation requires language that is firm enough to communicate the problem but controlled enough to support cooperation. Let's check this out. The room is uncomfortable is too vague because it does not identify the specific issue. This is unacceptable. Fix it now is aggressive and gives the other person little opportunity to respond constructively. The heating has failed again, and the room is too cold to use comfortably is firm and specific. Could we discuss a temporary arrangement until the repair is completed moves the conversation towards a solution. Conditional language helps you connect a proposed action to a particular situation. The repair cannot be completed today. Could you provide a temporary room presents a conditional request. For room is available, I'm willing to move temporarily communicates cooperation. Provided that introduces a condition that must be satisfied before you accept an offer. Unless means if not. Unless the room can be heated adequately means that an alternative arrangement will be necessary if adequate heating cannot be provided. Notice these useful accommodation and negotiation collocations. Report a fault, arrange an inspection, carry out repairs, provide temporary accommodation, cover additional costs, offer a rent credit, reach a compromise, and confirm in writing. For example, a resident reports a fault, and the accommodation provider may arrange an inspection or carry out repairs. During a negotiation, the provider might cover additional costs, provide temporary accommodation, or offer a rent credit. Both sides can reach a compromise and confirm the arrangement in writing. A negotiation may require several different responses. For example, that would work for me accepts an offer directly, or that would be acceptable provided that accepts it only if a condition is satisfied, or would it be possible to combine the two options presents a counteroffer without rejecting the original proposal completely. Lastly, I'm afraid that would not resolve the main problem because politely declines an offer and gives a reason. A clear reason makes the response more constructive. Now apply the language to an IELTS Part 3 style question. Why do disagreements sometimes arise between tenants and accommodation providers, and how can they be resolved? Identify one common cause and explain the different priorities involved. Give an example, suggest a practical way to resolve the disagreement and explain why communication matters. Pause the video and speak for approximately 50 to 60 seconds. Here is a model response. One common reason disagreements arise is that tenants and accommodation providers may interpret the same problem differently. A tenant may regard a heating failure or water leak as urgent because it affects daily life, while the provider may focus on repair schedules, contractor availability, and cost. Clear evidence and early communication can prevent the situation from becoming confrontational. For example, a tenant can report the fault in writing, explain its impact, and state the outcome they need. The provider can then give a realistic timeline and offer a temporary measure if an immediate repair is impossible. In my view, the most effective solution is usually a reasonable compromise supported by written confirmation. Both sides should listen, distinguish essential needs from preferences, and consider more than one option. This does not guarantee that every request will be accepted, but it makes the discussion fairer, clearer, and more likely to produce a workable agreement. The response identifies a cause, compares different priorities, gives an example, and proposes a balanced solution. Use its organization and language as a guide, but develop an answer that you understand and can express naturally. Let's review today's key expressions. Follow up on a problem, state your main concern, propose a workable solution, offer an alternative, accept with a condition, reach a compromise, confirm an arrangement, and put an agreement in writing. Practice using these expressions in different situations so that you can negotiate clearly without sounding aggressive. Thank you for learning with us. See you in the next lesson.